Hey there, it's the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. Even when there's an illegal immigrant killing a nursing student at the University of Augusta in the state of Georgia, the reluctance to blame it on an illegal immigrant, it has to be political. Because there's no other explanation on, really, this is just anti-female violence or, because the problem that they have is that statement that you just heard Eric play. If this guy hadn't been in the country, this woman would still be alive. Now, is that necessarily straight up Joe Biden's fault? I don't know. The illegal immigrants come here every year. And even if we do have a 90% tight border, that other 10% still gets through. Maybe he would have been in that 10%. Maybe he would have found a way to get in anyway. But it's quite likely that if we put the screws down on the border, that we'll get fewer of these. Can we all just statistically agree to that? But I love this take that they have to, you can tell when they sound angry, there's a cognitive dissonance in their head and they know that this doesn't help the narrative. And it's strange. You should never have to do this. You should never pick and choose or twist so it fits your narrative. You should recognize that if something doesn't fit your narrative, but it is a real factual thing that just happened in front of your face, well, maybe you should rethink your narrative or at least admit that not everything is going to 100% go your way all the time. Just like me saying, well, this wasn't anti-female violence. This wasn't just some toxic masculinity issue. I'm not saying toxic masculine people don't exist. I'm not saying violence against women doesn't exist. I'm just saying in this one, blaming illegals, at least this one, makes sense.
See, what we're not going to do is politicize this woman's death or use it to fuel a false narrative that undocumented immigrants are dangerous people.
How is that a false narrative? It was dangerous to this woman. No one is, not one person, not one, Ann Coulter, Donald Trump, if Pat Buchanan, if we reanimated his corpse, no one would say every illegal immigrant is a dangerous person. Not one person has made that statement. But the statement a lot of people have made is with illegal immigration does come some additional dangerous people. How? So she's already twisting. 7 seconds into it, already a twist. But I like to let her continue because I think about half of my friends think like this. I have a lot of liberal friends. I'm sorry. I work in media. I've worked in nothing but radio and TV for the last 22 years now. I'm a musician on the side. So I am swimming in liberal friends. And I think about half of them hear this. And what they really do is just don't take a side. When they hear this ultra lefty person, few people are as lefty as this girl. And then they hear the other side of the argument. They just throw their hands up and be like, they're partially right. Both of them are partially right. But let me continue with this girl from TikTok.
Because if this is all that you're pulling from this situation, just say you hate women and move on.
How can this mean I hate women? Me blaming a murder by an illegal immigrant on the illegal immigrant and calling for stricter immigration control means I hate women. I don't understand the connection because she has this predetermined worldview that men do hate women. Violence against women just randomly by men is a real thing, and it scares the crap out of her, and that's what she's worried about. And the fact that you're not worried about it means that you aren't concerned about the well-being of women. You'd rather blame illegals. You're just doing this for political purposes. It's a weird little projection, isn't it? But let me continue with this. You're going to like this.
The issue is that men are a danger to women. Women are terrified of men. If you ask me my biggest fear, the genuine answer is men. And if you took every single undocumented immigrant out of this country, my fear would still be men.
Okay. All that kind of fair. I can't tell her she's wrong about, being scared of men. Statistically speaking, we are the ones that are most likely to kill her. If a woman's going to get murdered around here, it's most likely someone she's been intimate with recently. So there's not anything wrong with kind of that idea generally. However, she is admitting that she's acting out of a place of emotion, a place of fear. She's not pulling statistics. She's not demonstrating to you that the murders from illegal immigrants is a statistical non-starter and that our fears of illegal immigration are unfounded. And you're right. Even if you did remove all illegal immigrants, the violence against women on planet Earth would stay about the same. But I would say he probably would have killed a woman in Venezuela instead of America. And that's kind of what I would have preferred. I don't want any woman to die, but we don't need to be importing new additional murders. That's my thoughts on that. To the phones we go. This is Jeff and Alan. You're on the James. Did I hit something wrong there? I'm getting a funny look. Jeff, can you hear me? Let me do this. Hang on. All right, I fat fingered it. There you go, Jeff. You're on the James Show. What do you think?
Yes. This is definitely Joe Biden's policy issue because, one, he's an illegal immigrant. He had a criminal history, so he should have served time for whatever history and then have been immediately deported. If immigrants, illegal immigrants in particular, come in, break the law, they need to go immediately. Well, I won't say immediately. As soon as they finish serving their sentence, they should be deported and never come back.
You know, it's easy to say that, and I really think maybe more than half of our friends who vote Democrat agree with it. I was hanging out with one of my super duper Democrat friends over the weekend, and look, she's going to vote Democrat forever. Why? Because back in the day, she had 2 abortions, and she will forever vote her uterus from here on out. You're never getting her vote. So she's one of these people that twists everything, not because she's really scared of men or she's not scared of illegal immigrants. It's that these 2 horrible life decisions that she had to make, she wants to go through the rest of her life not thinking that she's a murderer and that other women should have the same opportunities as her. And they're twisting it super duper hard. What you said makes total sense, Jeff. And I think if you got them all in a room by themselves with no cameras, recording devices, or other ears around, I bet most of our Democrat friends would agree with you, Jeff. I absolutely do. Thank you very much for calling. All right, coming up next, we have Dr. Fahmi Farah, and eating too much protein can be bad to your health, according to a new study. How much are we talking about? Because I like steak, I like meat, I like chicken. That's coming up next on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Hey there. Welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. My guest had to step away to do cardiology stuff. So if she can come back, I want to talk about that study that says eating too much protein may be bad for your health. Because I eat a lot of protein. I'm not quite a bodybuilder, but I try and be as least disgusting as possible. And so part of that's a healthy diet. And plus, I just like eating steak. I like eating chicken. I like eating meat. In fact, I want to add new animals. I like eating buffalo. I've never eaten, like there's animals I've never eaten, and these are my goals. I would like to eat bear meat. I haven't eaten a bear before. That'd be cool. I have eaten ostrich. I've eaten snake. I've eaten all kinds of stuff, but I'm kind of leaning into like endangered animals too. Like a panda looks like it might be tasty, but if she comes back, we'll talk about that. But good. This gives me a chance to continue what we were talking about before that. This murder by an illegal of a college student who went jogging, University of Augusta in Athens, Georgia. Let me get it all right this time. Yeah, one of the things that we were laughing about over the weekend, and I don't mean laughing like ha ha, like oh my goodness, this is so hacky, it's cringe, it's embarrassing for the AP, the Associated Press article on this. Again, how many times on this show do you hear me say, look, the story isn't what happened. The story is the way it was reported. The story is the lies, this tornado of misinformation that they're spinning around this story to make sure, just for a protective shield for the narrative. And if your narrative is more important than the truth, you're not a journalist. You're a political hack and you're disgusting. But the AP article, the killing of a nursing student out for a run, highlights the fears of solo female athletes. That's the problem. Solo female athletes. This is what you came up with, AP? Because, yeah, that's what happens. Female athletes are killed, murdered so often when they're just out on a jog. Well, the AP actually tries to backstory and backfill in their narrative. Here's a quick excerpt from the AP article on this death, on this murder, alleged, reportedly, whatever, by an illegal alien of a American female nursing student. It says, Riley's death has once again put the spotlight on the dangers female runners face. Previously, the 2018 death of University of Iowa student Molly Tibbetts while out jogging prompted an outpouring from other women who shared their tales of being harassed and followed. So we have to go back 6 years before we find another female solo jogger that was murdered just while she was out on a jog. Look, one is too many. We need to get this down to, I prefer 0. I prefer 0 from here for the rest of time. I do not want any woman to be in danger just because she decides to go out jogging. But just like the AP did not mention that the alleged murderer of the girl in Georgia last week was an illegal immigrant. They also left out the fact that in this one example they brought up of the death in 2018, that University of Iowa student, Molly Tibbetts, killed by an illegal immigrant. You can't make this stuff up, and they don't make the connection. So let me get this straight. You, in order to make your point that this isn't an illegal immigrant problem, you bring up as an example, as a counterexample, really, another murder of a solo female jogger that was by an illegal immigrant. This is how dedicated they are to the narrative. This is how, remember, look at how much they're making the connection between anti-trans rhetoric and the death of the poor teen up in Oklahoma. I guess it was like almost 4 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago. Terrible story, but until we know the cause of death, we don't even know if that's true. We don't have any reports of the girls that were fighting against the poor girl that died, the non-binary student that died. We don't know that they were using slurs. They were using anti-trans slurs, or that it was prompted because she was trans, or that they even knew of her status as trans. When you look at the body cam footage of the officer taking his report at the emergency room at the urgent care clinic, she's with her grandmother, not her mom, which was a red flag for some people, but not necessarily for me. Her mom was at work. Her grandmother wasn't. I don't know if she lives with her grandma, lives with her mom. What if she has some family issues? Maybe. I don't know. We don't know. But we know the grandma wasn't using they, them pronouns, and she wasn't calling her Nex. She was calling her Dagny, her Christian name that's actually on her birth certificate. And look, this happens over and over. When you have the George Floyd situation, how do we know that was racially motivated? Did Derek Chauvin say any racial slurs? Did the guy who shot Michael Brown say any racial slurs? Just because it is happening from one group to another group doesn't mean it was motivated by their group differences. Do you have to have some evidence, don't you? Nope. No evidence needed. They don't even know a cause of death yet. And they're already blaming you and your anti-trans rhetoric. Teresa from Ivanhoe, you're on the James Show. What do you think?
I just really have a hard time with the fact that this person committed a crime in New York, and New York having their sanctuary policies, just like the ones that assaulted the police officers, they get let out of jail. Now, this guy's gone on to Georgia. He has now killed somebody. So why can't we hold someone like New York to be responsible? They had him. They let him go.
Yeah,
now
and it was
somebody's dead.
They had him in New York. They had arrested him and charged him with endangerment of a child. I don't know what he did with this 5-year-old, but seeing as what he did in Georgia, you can go ahead and assume the worst. And the technical reason they let him out isn't because they're soft on crime, bleeding heart liberals. They said, we're running out of space in New York. Well, that sounds like a New York City problem, not a Georgia problem. I think you got a good, I like your thought process there. Whatever judge signed that order, whoever's up that chain of command who made that decision to let him out, lawsuit.
Well, isn't it a fact that when an illegal immigrant commits a crime, they get deported? You keep them. You get rid of them. You send them back where they came from.
Should be.
Don't let them go on.
That's not how we're doing it, though, Teresa. That's not. And people have said, look, if you keep behaving like this, if you keep these soft policies, there are going to be Americans who suffer and die. And it's amazing. They'll make the connection. It's like, well, we told you if you ban pornography from elementary schools that trans kids were going to die, and now we're right. They don't even know, but they can't make this connection. And I think that's what's just doubly frustrating, Teresa, is we have to watch these same people make a connection where there's not a connection and refuse a connection where there clearly is one. And it makes me nuts.
Well, hopefully we can get a grip on all of this come election time, because this is out of control. Where
Agreed.
I live, we are flooded. And I live in a very rural, extreme north, up on the Red River.
Yeah, you live in a bug tussle. You're like me. Bug tussle is just an avatar. There's not really, just so y'all don't know, thank you, Teresa. There's not really a place called Bug Tussle. That's just an avatar for the small town that I live in and where I'm from. And it applies if you drive an hour and a half in any direction, you're in a bug tussle from the DFW area. But you get it. 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP. Let's go! Look, I am not enthusiastic about the news of the day, but I am enthusiastic that in about 30 minutes we get to play Dead or Alive again. Yes, another round of applause. Bigger than that, you can do. There you go. Yeah. Studio audience really likes Dead or Alive. If you're not familiar with it, it's your dad's favorite radio game. I'm going to give you the name of 10 celebrities, and you have to tell me if they're dead or alive. That sounds easy, James. It is. That's why you need to get excited about your chance for winning Dierks Bentley tickets. Really? Yeah, okay. That's coming up in 30 minutes. Calm down. Right now, though, let's get back to the somber news of the day. An illegal immigrant murders a nursing student in Georgia. She's on a jog. We made fun of the AP for saying, well, you got to look out for those men. That's for sure. That's our takeaway. They don't mention the fact that he's an illegal immigrant. They said, yeah, this has been a problem. You know, men are so evil. Women can't even jog outside anymore. I mean, this just happened 6 years ago to another woman. They bring up the story of a woman who was killed by another illegal immigrant. Come on, guys. Find a better case than that. And so now I'm stuck here. I got blamed. You got blamed. Sean got blamed. Eric got blamed. Everybody got blamed except for the illegal immigrants that are killing the girls. Kind of frustrating stuff, huh? He came in 2022, so he hadn't even been here 2 years. You'll never guess where he got in. Texas. He crossed the border near El Paso. So this happened under the Biden watch, and a lot of people were putting a microscope, or at least one of those magnifying glasses, that the Joe Biden policies and saying, hey, I think maybe there's a closer direct connection to the missed opportunity to stop him here and the missed opportunity to stop him when he was arrested in New York City. And then you're going to turn right. City. So let's ask retired Sergeant Bettany Brantner Smith from the National Police Association. First off, is there any updates over the weekend? Because a lot of us saw this story on Friday, and we're kind of been in a weekend fog since then. Welcome back to the James Show. But what's the latest on this story?
Well, and thanks so much for having me. This illegal alien who could have been stopped prior to this, he came near El Paso in 2022. And as part of Biden's catch and release program that President Biden, despite what we're being told, greatly enhanced, he was freed into the U.S. because DHS just said, hey, we don't have any detention space for him. He was arrested in Queens in September of 23 for endangering a child. And thanks to sanctuary city policies, instead of getting turned over to ICE like he should have been, he was just, returned back into our American population where he made his way to Georgia. Locke and Riley, she was found in a wooded area near where she was jogging, and he has now been charged, Mr. Ibarra, with kidnapping, malice murder, felony murder, false imprisonment. In other words, he kidnapped this girl. He beat her to death. She died of blunt force trauma. And now he's going to be, part of our American justice system. And her family is now one of the hundreds and hundreds of angel families to join the likes of the family of Molly Tibbetts, murdered by an illegal Mexican in 2018, Kayla Hamilton, murdered by an illegal alien MS-13 gang member who El Salvador would have just told us was an illegal gangbanger and would have taken him back, but DHS didn't bother to ask. We can go on and on. Kate Steinle in 2015 in San Francisco.
The one that was shot on the pier? Yeah. Oh, God.
Yes.
I can't believe I remember these names.
I know, it's so sad. And he was not convicted of her murder because of all the shenanigans surrounding the charging and the trial and all of that. It's so incredibly frustrating because this doesn't have to happen. And I was listening to your news piece before the show, and now it's very political, and the Republicans need to pass more legislation. We need no more legislation to make this stop. The president could do it today.
All right, I am scared to ask this question, but we're all adults here, and we all have to look at ugly things every once in a while. Sergeant Betsy, why would he kill this girl? They didn't say anything about a sexual assault or a rape, but what on earth could be his motivation other than that? Do you suspect that happened as well?
I suspect that, but I don't know that for sure. And here's something that cops know that everybody needs to know. Evil exists. And unfortunately, that's what this man is. He should have never been in this country. And we have to understand that you might be too young to remember this, but we are now in a modern day Mariel boat lift where we've got people from, instead of just coming from Cuba, everybody look that up when you get a chance.
We saw Scarface. Sergeant Smith, we saw Scarface. We know.
Exactly, when you're a kid. And so now we've got people coming from 100 different countries, and many of them are mentally ill. Many of them are criminal. And we are doing nothing about it. And so poor Miss Riley is now the new face of angel families and the new face of immigration reform. And I am sure that this is not where her family wanted to be. But we all need to honor her by telling our elected officials that this needs to end today. And it can end today. We don't need to pass any more laws to do it.
Yeah, I think one of the takeaways I have from this story that you just said perfectly is one thing that you got to remember is there's just some evil people out there. They don't need a motivation. They don't need to steal your wallet. They don't need to do. Some people just want to light a match, watch the world burn.
And we have got to understand that the people coming into our country they're already willing to break laws. We also have to understand that some of them coming into this country are being used and abused by, remember, it's the cartels that are in charge of all this. We do not have operational control of our borders. The Mexican cartels do. And they are using and abusing people for money, for drugs, for sex trade. This needs to stop. But we have got to understand the totality of the problem.
Good stuff. Thanks again, Sergeant Betsy Brantner Smith, National Police Association. And thank you for taking some time on the James Show.
And I would ask everybody to go to nationalpolice.org and donate to help us help American law enforcement. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. All right. Next, I want to hear from you. Let's line up some callers. Let's talk about this. What is this guy's motivation? What do you think about how do we fix this? How do we stop this in the future? Are you going to tell your daughter you better not go jogging? Or what are you going to do about this? 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP and now on FM at 93.3. We're talking about a few things, but the one that's really caught my eye and I want to talk about now is the murder that happened from the illegal immigrant on the University of Georgia at Augusta in Athens, nursing student. And I was kind of connecting that earlier to a couple other stories, but focusing on this one, I think a lot of the pain that we feel from this comes from the fact that he was in custody twice already. And because of specific policies from one side of the aisle, not to name any names, but the reason he was out on the street is because of some policies that you disagree with. And if you had had your way, and if you had been able to make policies at the border, he wouldn't have got past El Paso, Texas. If you had been able to have the policies in the way you see fit in New York City, he would still probably be up in New York City serving jail time for whatever he did to that 5-year-old.
New York City!
To the phones we go. Let's start with David in Fort Worth. You're next up on the James Show. What do you think, David?
Hey, how you doing, James? My question is, if Trump can be held civilly liable, couldn't the DA or who's ever, even Biden's policy, I know it'd be hard to prove, from the border that individual would have got caught, but they had him up in New York. So with the DA's policy, couldn't they civil sue, the legal system there or whoever implemented those?
So that's the problem that you run into with immunity. You can't bring a civil lawsuit against a politician or a person in government just for doing their job, just for acting out the policies that are on the books. So there's
right, but what if they are no longer like Trump is no longer president? So what if the DA or whatever, can you still do that if they're not nothing?
Well, you're not supposed to, and that's the interesting point about the Jack Smith case against Trump. And right now, we're expecting some sort of decision about the immunity issue in the Trump case. And the Supreme Court is the one that we're looking at to decide that. And this is kind of a freaky one because this is another sort of legal societal norm that is broken in the pursuit of destroying Trump. And so we're about to find out, because I would have said, no, there's no way you can sue him. But if they're allowed to sue, if Jack Smith is allowed to go forward with his lawsuit against Donald Trump, I guess we don't have immunity for public officials anymore. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe we can now. So I got to tell you, sorry, I don't know, but I don't think so. And really, let's watch this Trump case. And if they do change the rules against Trump, maybe we should just change the rules against Biden too. All right, let's go to Sophia in Rockwall. What do you think, Sophia?
Hey, I think that there's some kind of corruption, some kind of agreement with the cartels and the White House and Biden administration. There has to be. They're allowing this to happen. You know, they're allowing this to be run at our border, and there's no other explanation. There is really no other explanation. I'm sorry. You can say, we need to put more razor wire. Yeah, great. I'm 100% behind Abbott. I think he's done a phenomenal job, and they're moving into Arizona and California now and getting in our country through other states. However, this has been going on. They do nothing. And the reason they do nothing is because there's already an agreement with Mexico and the United States that, hey, it's okay. We have an agreement with the cartel. We're going to let you do so much fentanyl. We're going to let you do so much human trafficking. This is appalling. And people who voted for Biden just because of, they're going to pay my tuition and he bought your vote. Look at you in your face now. Think about what you're doing to this country and the kids now. It's the kids. It's the children. It's girls. It's young women. It's young men. And with this woman who was murdered viciously and attacked, I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old, and they're not taking dance lessons. They're taking karate self-defense classes. That's how vigilant I am about their protection and knowing how to defend themselves. Now, I feel like it's a little bit sad that I have to take them out of dance and gymnastics, but you know what? It's a survival mechanism now. There's no more, hey, let's have fun and let's go outside and play. No, they have to learn now to be on guard, ride their bikes, have fun, but also be on guard and know how to defend yourself. That's what this administration is doing. Corruption, and then we have to make sure that our kids know how to fight.
Well, listen, we're not one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. When you think that, America is so dangerous and compared to all these other developed countries, crime is out of control, we actually rank 111th in murders. And you only get the idea that this country has some sort of violence problem when we're only compared to like this other 12 Western European countries. And that's not a really fair metric. We get slandered all the time. It's actually safer than when we were kids. It's safer to go out and ride your bike. It's safer to go out and let your kids play alone at the park than when we were kids. These murders, these kidnappings, violence against women, rapes, they are all way down from the 80s and 90s where they were. So I don't want to damper your enthusiasm for teaching your kids to be able to defend themselves. But it is not Lord of the Flies. This is not Judgment Night. This is not The Purge out there. You sound like you have a lot of fear in your voice, and some fear is good, but don't be scaring the crap out of your kids that every stranger out there is a potential killer. It's just, I don't know, get them a gun. They'll be ready. You don't have to know karate, I don't have to know karate or any of that. You can know all the karate you want. I got this. What are you going to do? Thank you for your call, Sophia. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. You sounded way too worried for my liking on that. Calm down. It ain't that bad here. It ain't that bad. We didn't have to have this. This was preventable. And that's what I find more frustrating than the idea of Mississippi burning out there. But thank you very much for your call. Coming up next, you're going to get a chance to play Dead or Alive. Dirk's Bentley tickets are on the line, so stick around. That's coming up in about 7 minutes on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, and now on FM at 93.3.